everyone, my name is Gabby. No face cam today or for quite a while. I am on holidays, but I'm not on holidays off YouTube, so I am still going to be doing Super Reviews, so it's time for another Dragon Ball Super Review, and this time reviewing episode 97. After explaining the rules once more, the Tournament of Power finally begins. Every team goes out and starts fighting each other, and despite Gohan's words, several members of Universe 7 leave the group to go fight on their own, including Goku, who, whilst trying to get to Toppo and later Jiren, is confronted by several members from Universe 9.
So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, just looking at this episode, I was actually really kind of appreciating and really enjoying the fact that, Toei actually did it. They actually did do an 80-member tournament battle royale, and they actually kind of pulled it off. This entire episode, it's the battle royale, and everyone is basically fighting each other, and it is formatted, kind of exactly how you'd expect it to. You have just random characters sort of showing up, seeing each other and fighting, and it's like there's no distinction between the universes either. You have stuff like the member from Universe 3 trying to knock just everyone off in general, and then having someone from Universe 6 and having someone from Universe 9 kind of both sort of attacking him at once, and it's cool. It's very kind of almost chaotic, but kind of intentionally chaotic. There's this spirit that everyone is fighting each other and it's all sort of free-for-all, and you kind of don't really know who's going to be fighting who and how, and it's fun. I'm really glad that they did this, because they could have really easily just sort of done a whole bunch of sort of shortcuts to make sure they didn't have to do this in any capacity. Say have someone say Jiren be basically so strong that he can just wipe out half of the contestants without them even thinking about it. But they didn't do that. It was one of my biggest concerns with this tournament when it was going to be starting. Essentially, there was just so much that they could possibly do. I couldn't imagine that they could really just sort of live up to their own hype. But at the very least, this episode, they tried to do it. They tried to do the things they promised they did. And it wasn't just a giant, massive bait and switch. So I do appreciate that. It's only been one episode, and they've only really eliminated 2 people. And I wasn't expecting that. I thought they were going to be in a real hurry to eliminate a lot of people. And while that is probably going to happen eventually, I'm glad that at least we got an episode dedicated to everything being completely played straight, and not quickly we've got to get all the kind of noob tier guys out of the way. Also, as annoying as basically everyone in Universe 7 kind of immediately ditching the logical and obvious plan of actually working together to basically just go off on their own, I do appreciate that Universe 7 as a team kind of got split apart so quickly. Because, the one other thing I was kind of concerned about over this whole tournament is that, if all of Universe 7 was basically just going to be a giant sort of 10-member team fight, that could be fun on its own, I guess, but it doesn't really give you as many opportunities to sort of explore the individual characters. Because at that point, all of the characters are basically just team players, they're all kind of equal, and you're only really sort of exploring them in terms of how they're related to other characters and what they do and how they work well with them. But here, the fact that they have these characters being split up and sort of going on their own and fighting on their own means that you can do more sort of traditional sort of one-on-one tournament fights where you can have one character fighting another character, and you get to see a lot more of the characters as individuals, and I like that. And that's not to say that there aren't any team fights altogether, because it does seem like Gohan sort of Team Resurrection F is still sort of there, and they're still sort of doing their teamwork. So it's kind of this is the best option for me. Also, it's kind of funny because this story, I think, is sort of one of the first arcs where it gives an explanation as to why Goku is holding back, and the explanation actually kind of totally makes sense, and that Goku wants to save his power for the end, but at this point it makes sense because, yeah, he's going to have to fight a lot of guys in a row. Of course he's going to save his full power, and of course he's not going to transform until, he really, really needs to. As for what I didn't like about this episode, well, honestly, while I did kind of really appreciate the fact that this episode didn't really kind of progress the tournament forward that much, that they weren't really in a bit of a hurry to sort of get to the big sort of final fights and the big strongest, most important fights, I am also wondering if they sort of keep this sort of pace up and keep this sort of idea up, how long it's going to really keep my interest. Because, it is fun to see random people fight other random people and sort of seeing their abilities and their techniques and stuff, but without much of a kind of big sort of focus and also a big sort of relation to the main characters, I feel like it could get a little bit old, and I think it's one of my biggest problems with this format in general. If a guy from Universe 3 eliminates a guy from Universe 4, why does it really matter to us? They're not necessarily the guys we know, we haven't necessarily seen them, a lot of these characters? We don't actually know, and we haven't met until this point. So it makes me wonder why we should care that much, and why it should be particularly interesting if we spend a lot of time watching them fight, as opposed to, like, you know, the protagonists in Universe 7 and maybe even Universe 6 and stuff like that. I mean, the fact is, I was way more interested when we got to see characters like Hit and even Basil, who we'd seen at the earlier exhibition match, because I know who they are already, and I am a bit more interested and kind of know their personality and abilities. I think the way you alleviate a lot of this is if you have a lot of the stuff that's going on have a very real kind of concrete connection to Universe 7, or at least the characters who we do kind of know. But this episode didn't really have much. The biggest sort of focus related to the characters that we know about was Goku was trying to find Toppo, and other characters kept getting in his way. That in itself was kind of justifiable enough for me to sort of see a lot of this other random stuff, but basically I feel like they still need to keep doing that, and if they don't do that, that's when it's going to start getting a bit boring, because it is literally just going to be, hey, do you care about this to watch some fights between people you literally do not know anything about, and where the outcome of whether they live or die is not really that important. So, as for next episode, well, Goku is going to fight a whole bunch of people from Universe 9. It seems like Vegeta is going to step in to help as well, and I am very curious because it does seem like this might be do or die for Universe 9. We do know a little bit about them, or at least about the Trio of Danger, and I am waiting for that moment where the first universe actually falls and one universe actually does get erased. And just judging by what we've been seeing, it seems like Universe 9 might be the first one, so we might see that next episode. And if we do, well, that's going to be interesting, because the stakes just suddenly got a lot more serious and a lot more personal. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 97. Honestly, kind of a completely serviceable start to the tournament. It didn't really do anything particularly unique or particularly interesting, but it did actually say that it was going to do, at least attempt to do, this Battle Royale format and pretty much play it completely straight. And that's what I do especially appreciate. The only thing that was a little bit disappointing was that maybe it wasn't as much of a, big visual spectacle as you'd expect it to be. I mean, it definitely tried, and I do give it props for that, but compared to the last few episodes, it was a little bit underwhelming. Hopefully, as the tournament goes on and we get to see more of those, bigger moments and bigger characters that have been hyped up in, particular, important ways and big fights, hopefully then we're going to get and see a bit more of that kind of visual flair that we thought we were going to see. But at the very least, I am glad with the direction that this tournament was taking and the way that they're executing it. I'm glad that they're actually trying to do it. I'm glad that they're trying to essentially live up to their own hype. And it is making me interested to see what they're going to do once things sort of move out of the kind of preliminary kind of warm-up stages and starts getting serious. So this is Gabby, signing out, and I'll see you all next week. Bye, guys!